I want to start by saying when I first started to read your newsletter and kind of pay attention to what you were up to, I think it might have it resonated with me like maybe more than anything I've read recently or maybe ever. I just feel exactly what you were talking about was kind of exactly what I had been thinking about, or even what I had been like talking about with friends. So I'm really happy that you agreed to sit down because I think I have some kind of lines of conversation that are going to be perfect for both of us.
Wow. Well, thank you very much, man. Really appreciate it. And yeah, really happy that you asked me to be on the pod. I mean, I feel very honored. You had quite some cool guests so far, so I feel really honored to be in line with all those cool people. And yeah, really excited to talk to you.
You know, me like knowing the way I think about all the social media and algorithms and viral all this random stuff kind of it maybe it's not all I think about that's kind of making it sound like I have a one track mind, but I do spend a lot of time analyzing ad campaigns, or I'll see something go viral and I'll kind of wonder why, and not get jealous, but I'll think like that's I did something similar to that, no one cared, or I have a friend who did almost exactly that and their video did not do the millions this one's doing. And just the overall thought process about all this stuff I feel is a bit like daunting, and it feels too much to me sometimes. I wonder, just seeing what you write, and even like the screenshots in the about section of your newsletter. Right now I'm looking at your name on Zoom and how you like separated it with a period. These are all things that I love doing, and I love thinking about why people do them. How much time do you spend thinking about like why things work the way they work in the world that we both pay attention to?
Like how much time? I don't think I can like put a like an exact number to it. Um, Probably like it always runs like subconsciously in my head. Like whenever like I'm on Instagram or when I browse through a magazine or like I go to an exhibition, I feel like this is like something that always runs like subconsciously through my mind. And yeah, like it always like I always feel like the thoughts grow in my head, and like every once in a while I feel like putting it up like on Substack, or like maybe like get from this type of divergent thinking into this like more convergent thinking, and like I don't know, like narrowing it down and like putting like all these like vague impressions that I have in my head like into like structures and models, which is something that I also do in my job as a like brand strategist. So I don't know. I can't really like put a like exact number to it, but in general, I think like all this stuff is probably it probably takes quite a lot of my mental capacity, it feels like.
And has it been that way like for years for you? The Substack is newish, I assume, but that like just thinking about these sort of things, and even like say being a brand strategist, when did that start for you?
Yeah, I started like 3.5 years ago, like in my first like proper full-time role. And yeah, like from then on, I mean, I did like during my studies, I did like brand strategy work as well, but in my like when it comes to like working full time, I'm doing this for like 3.5 years now. And yeah, when it comes to the culture part, I mean, I would say that I'm like plugged into culture since I'm like, I don't know, like 13, 14. It started when I was like, I got into like groups like at Future, for example, which was like the starting place like of a lot of artists which are dominating all the feeds these days, like Tyler the Creator and Frank Ocean and Earl Sweatshirt. And yeah, like this was like the gateway into this whole like streetwear culture for me. Like from Odd Future, I got into like brands like Supreme, which opened up the whole new dimension of culture for me. Like through their collabs, they did like very interesting collabs, like for example with like Daniel Johnston and other photographers and artists. And through that, I got slowly more into culture, got into like magazines, and yeah, and from then on, yeah, it was a part of my life, I would say. As pathetic as it sounds, I mean, I was always like really plugged into culture, and yeah, after like having worked like in brand strategy for quite a time now, I also wanted to have like a creative outlet, like like an outlet in which I can like write about culture and combine these two parts of me, like one being a brand strategist, and then on the one hand, like being really fascinated by culture in general and all the arts. Yeah, so this is why I started like doing the Substack as well. Yeah, to finally have an outlet for this as well, because it also a good way to keep me from doom scrolling, because I'm like really like into magazines, like I said, I'm really into reading, going into exhibitions. But since I started the Substack, I feel way more like motivated to do all these types of stuff because I don't know, like browse through all these magazines like with like a new lens. I can always like I'm motivated by the thought that maybe I can use it for the newsletter like, and then I can like slowly connect the dots between all the stuff that excites me. Yeah, so this is it.
That's incredible. A lot of people that I talk to, and a lot of people, whose stuff I would read or see online, wouldn't, I don't know if they could say that, like, starting to write or starting another platform made them more present in the world and made them more like attentive to what was happening. Usually, me included, get an app, and then the app is kind of what you're focusing on. Like it's hard to look up from the phone for some people. Again, me included, but I love to hear that like you found this or using it to its potential, but it's also making you like see the world as a better place. I guess as corny as that might sound.
Yeah, but for me it's also both, I have to admit. I mean, I also just love to like lurk on the notes section and then I don't know, just like doom scroll like, and then like I don't know, getting like silly thoughts out. I mean, I really love this doom scroll aspect of it as well, I have to say. So it's both, but I think like in general, like for me, the good sides they outweigh the bad sides for sure, so far at least.
It's funny when I first got Substack, I think it might have been before notes were actually introduced, and then once they were there, I remember thinking like, "Oh, this is so cool because you can look at a couple things, you can get inspired, or you can learn about what's going on in the world, and then you can get off
Yeah, for sure.
and go back to your life." But then, like really quickly, I just started treating it like any other infinite scroll app, and I'll catch myself maybe less than the other apps, but I'll still be scrolling for a while, and then I'll have to kind of snap myself out of it. And again, I'm like, what was all that? Like, I just read a bunch of stuff. Maybe four of those things were interesting, but the rest is just kind of. I'm not like retaining any of it and just like doom scrolling. But I also like as I'm saying that, I'm not really complaining because that's kind of what I like to do online. I'm gonna like really extreme either end. I like being almost like leaving my phone at home, not being on it at all, or being on it completely and like just spending an afternoon like wasted Or not like not drunk wasted, like time wasted on all of the apps. So it's hard. Like it started out, my intent was it to be kind of like you're processing it, but then now I'm definitely scrolling a bit more than I would like to.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to like balance out like these two sides of it. Yeah, because it's like two different like types of consuming content. I mean, the other one is the reading part, which takes quite a lot of your effort and like time. And then the doom scrolling part, which is like fun. It gets the dopamine going, but yeah, it's a whole nother process. I once heard there's this option where you can like send articles to your Kindle and stuff like this. And I don't know, I always wanted to try out this because like then you can probably read a bit more in peace and then you have yeah, I mean then you can distinguish the two parts maybe a bit better, but I never really got around to like trying it. But I think it might be a good way to balance out like those two sides.
Yeah, I think the other day I saw someone they had like had filmed a short tutorial about how to print out, like at the beginning of each day, I guess they print out all of their all of their subscriptions, and they read all their newsletters like in kind of hard copy. And I mean the idea of that is great. That seems like a lot of work and also a lot of strain on the environment, like printers and paper. It doesn't seem ideal, but the idea of it is cool, I guess. But I also think if I want to fully detach from the internet and read something, I'll just read a magazine or a book.
Yeah, I sometimes feel so as well. Yeah, but it's really hard. I thought about the printing aspect as well, but then I don't even have a printer at this point, so it's quite hard. But yeah, also when it comes to like working on my Substack, I sometimes feel like it might be good to like print stuff out because I have like this very romantic view of being an editor as well, in which you have this like big pin board and then you pin stuff down on it and then you can connect stuff, like this one scene in like Beautiful Mind. So I always think about like there might be a way to like work on like articles this way as well, where you can like have a bit more of this like sensoric feeling as well. You can like where you can get like out of your head quite quickly, and then you can I don't know just connect stuff with your hands. But I don't know. I think at this point it's just a romantic illusion I have in my head, and I will just stick to like I don't know like using Miro and like Cosmos and stuff.
Yeah, it's they make it so hard to like all these old school techniques seem really cool and we all romanticize them, but then it's so hard to like fuse those with modern technology. Like a digital newsletter isn't really supposed to ever have like any printed or handheld aspects, even though like it would be nice, but they're just two things that maybe don't go as harmoniously together as people would like. So I'm constantly thinking about old ways that just would be nice but never work with all the new methods.
Like the last weekend, I did it the other way around actually. I was in this one magazine shop called Motto here in Berlin. And there was this one magazine that I couldn't buy, like of Kaleidoscope, because it was like an old issue. It was like 10 years ago. It was like 70 euros, and it was a bit too steep for me. And then I photographed it. I mean, the owner was really nice to let me photograph it. And then I'm now planning to like put it on ChatGPT so I can like have some proper text of it, and I then can print it out and like read it in full. And I always feel like there has to be like some way of connecting those two worlds because especially if I now like browse through all the old magazines I have at home as well, I feel like there is so much stuff that is like locked away, printed, because you always have this illusion that everything is online at this point, but then I actually don't feel like it. There's like so much stuff like offline as well, which is worth like to put online for people to see actually. And I actually thought about getting like a scanner now as well to have like more to have like more these like to have like more new input basically than the stuff that is out on the internet anyway. But yeah, still in the process of figuring out that myself, I have to admit.
I agree with that, and I found out kind of the hard way lately. Like so many people, like you're saying, just assume the history of everything can be found online. Like, there's so much out there. If you look in the right spots, you're gonna find it. But there are so many things that I hear about or I remember existed when I was young, and I'm gonna go back and look at it, even like old issues of magazines, and there's so much stuff that there's like not a trace of it on the internet, which I love. Like I like the idea of that until it's kind of the obstacle where I'm like, oh, I spent the day learning about this thing, and I want to go back and reread this interview and look at the photos in this magazine, unless you can somehow find the magazine for an insane price on eBay or something. Like, no one's gonna be able to access that info, and I'm on the fence. Like, I like the idea of it, but then, yeah, if it gets in the way of me getting that info, I'm less in love with the idea.
Yeah, yeah. It's always a work in progress, I feel like. But I definitely want to start more like integrating more offline content in the or like scan stuff in the newsletter. But yeah, it just yeah, I have to figure it out.
Was it I don't even know what words I would use to ask this, but you were like telling me a bit about your earlier influences into culture and stuff, and they're all the ones you mentioned, I would say, are like American or North American. So, how was it for you being in Berlin and then having a lot of your influences not being there? Was that like a good juxtapositioning of the worlds, or was it like kind of hard to take influence from something that you couldn't like live as closely as someone who's living in the States?
I actually wasn't even based in Berlin. I was based in like a whole another different part of Germany, which is like Lüdenscheid. It's a small town like in the western part of Germany. So for the most part, I felt like very detached like from all things culture because there is really not a lot of things going on there. But I mean, you can keep track of it like through like social media and like internet and also through magazines. Yeah, but for the most part, I really was quite detached from all the things, I have to admit. So it always felt like this parallel universe to me, like this larger than life thingy. And actually, it's just started to get normal to me once I like moved to Berlin, and now and then I could like finally all the stuff that I was seeing online. I mean, previously also like through like city trips, for example. But then it slowly got like more normal to me. But most of the time, I was also, yeah, like you said, mostly into like international culture, not just American culture as well. Like also, I was really into like UK culture as well. Like I was really active, or like not really active, but I was lurking in this one UK streetwear group called The Basement for quite a long time. And yeah, so I was really, really interested into like UK culture and US culture. But yeah, like you said, I always felt a bit detached. But yeah, you could also, I know at these days you can probably can keep track of it like through the internet as well. But yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I assumed you were born and raised in Berlin. I should have probably cleared that up first. But as you said that, I wonder if it would actually be somewhat easier to process all that because you were a bit even more detached than being in Berlin for it. Like to me, it seems like you would have been distanced from even what was going on in Berlin where you were, so it might not be that more drastic to be distanced from stuff going on in the States or in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, like Berlin, like while I was growing up, I mean, like Berlin felt like a super big city to me. But once you go to Berlin, you realize it's actually not even as big. And I don't know, like compared if you go to other cities like, I don't know, like London, Paris, it's still a relatively small city. So you always level up a bit, I feel like.
Have you, like, since, like growing up and now being an adult, have you spent any time in the States or any of the places where you were like getting the inspiration from when you were young? Or has it all been kind of through the internet and various other ways of absorbing all that?
I mean, I've been to London like one time, or like two times actually. One time for my birthday, like 18th birthday, and then like through a school trip. And yeah, but I always had it like in very small doses whenever I went to like the next biggest city, which is Cologne, which I mean it has like a 1 million or like I don't want to get into the numbers because I don't know them as good myself, but whenever I went to Cologne, which is the next biggest city, I always had these like doses of culture. I mean, I could go to like very cool like magazine stores and I could go to concerts there. I mean, I remember seeing old sweatshirts there, for example, which for example is a member of this Odd Future group. I mean everybody knows old sweatshirts, so I don't have to explain it. But yeah, so I always had these small doses of culture whenever I went there. And yeah, America not so much actually. But I've actually never been to. I mean, I've been to Austin one time because my brother was living there like for a year. But actually, I've never been to the US so far. I've never. I mean, but I really want to go to New York now. But then I also don't really feel like whether like now it's a perfect timing.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just gonna say it might not be the best time to experience that, like how you imagine it being, but I think you should still go for sure. You should. It's kind of, from what I can tell, like an isolated. Even though it is in the U.S., there's a lot of really drastic stuff happening in the U.S. and New York has avoided it. Maybe not entirely, but better than some have. So I think if you're gonna go somewhere, probably there makes the most sense.
Yeah, New York for sure is very up on my bucket list, so that's for sure. I mean, like, yeah, I really want to go into New York. It's just a matter of time. Like I said, like now it doesn't seem like the perfect timing. Maybe if the right occasion like pops up, but then yeah, obviously it's quite an investment to go there for. And like for this year, I like I want to do like more smaller trips. Also when it comes to like budget and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. Of course, that's the main one. I've many things I would like to do, but the budget is always the deciding factor. When you were young, when you were developing an interest in all this stuff, were you like, did you have friends who were learning about it with you, or were you on your own to research all this stuff?
Yeah, I had some friends who were also like into like hip hop and streetwear culture. But then I mean, like to a certain part, it felt like my interest was the biggest, like when it comes to like streetwear culture and stuff, and it also endured the longest time, I would say. And I mean, and also like while I was growing up, I wasn't researching so much. I mean, like maybe research sounds like a bigger word than it was in real life. I mean, I was just like always on SoundCloud and I don't know, also like browsing through magazines. But I think like it just like got more intense like while like once I moved to Berlin. And here I have like friends who are into this into like these themes as well. So it's really nice to bounce ideas off each other.
Yeah, it's always like, I mean, when I was growing up too, I was, maybe not. I don't know if isolated is offensive to you at all. I was in a smaller city, and I had influences and kind of inspiration from places that I wasn't able to get to either. And some things I was into, I had friends who kind of shared in that, and it was nice to be able to like talk and bounce ideas off each other. But then there were some things where like no one else was really into this certain thing, so I was kind of learning about it on my own, and I like it's hard for me thinking back to actually say which one I preferred. It's nice to learn in a group, but it's also nice to learn on your own. I think I don't know which one I liked better.
Yeah, it might be the mixture of both, as with most things maybe. But yeah, there's definitely perks to it of like finding stuff on your own as well, like because you find the stuff that like really like resonates with you, and you don't have as much of like a filtered view to it, maybe. I'm not too sure. But where were you from actually? You were from Canada and this Edmonton, it's called.
Yeah, yeah, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So a pretty like small. I mean, I don't want to offend any of my local listeners, but an insignificant Canadian city compared to what people have probably heard of. Like people know about Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal has amazing things happening. Edmonton is definitely cool, and maybe I'm a little biased because I've been here forever. But yeah, smaller, less happening, less population, less music groups, and people coming through. So there's inspiration, but kind of like you, or maybe this isn't even the point of what you were saying, but a lot of the stuff I started to be interested in from younger until now. I also had to go I mean, I proud to say before was the internet magazines, and then chat rooms, and then now social media. But I can relate to like you being interested in things that you can really reach where you were, and then finding whatever way you could learn about that thing, finding a way to learn about it.
Yeah. I think you also had the store there, right? I think it's really cool that you didn't like moved from the city and rather brought the culture to your place, which is really cool, I feel like. Because like there's usually whenever people they wanna get involved into culture, they move into the biggies to the bigger city like I do. But it's really cool for you that you I don't know, you rather brought like all the stuff that you're interested in into your culture. If I'm like into your city, which is really cool, I find.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that is true. I had a store for 7 years, I think, and tried my best to bring that was actually it sums it up perfectly. I wasn't leaving. I didn't really intend on moving away, but I did. There were certain things that I was into that I felt maybe should be here. I would love if people where I am could experience this stuff. I didn't see anyone else really making an effort to bring this stuff in, so I tried it for a bit. We had some fun. Stores closed now, but yeah, it kind of turned into this. I think without the store, kind of as the precursor, there would be no podcast, and I guess in turn we wouldn't be talking. So it's good that happened. It got us to here.
Yeah, sure, it all leads into each other always.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I really believe that. I maybe that's another reason why I kind of like what you make resonates so well with me, because I think maybe we share like other values and insights to that stuff as well. Like kind of the way we got into stuff sounds pretty similar, and I didn't even know that until we started talking. So it's nice to kind of find this out and have it make even more sense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's probably the beauty of Substack, right? That it like allows you to like show your interest a bit more in depth. And then, I mean, it's probably the most like, it's probably not the most like fluctuated place, but then in turn, you get like deeper connections. I feel like that might be also like the beauty of Substack, you know? Like, whereas on Instagram, for example, you rather connect like on a like visual level, which is also nice. I mean, I also like to just look at like aesthetically pleasing pictures. I mean, I've done that for the half of my life, I feel like. But yeah, I mean, there's beauty to this, yeah, Substack exchange for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that, like 1,000%, dude. Because when I came across your newsletter, I was like, this, I really like this, and I think it's because I got like a bit of a maybe a wider view into what you were doing that it was able to affect me so much. I think if you come across someone's Instagram that has nice photos, that is kind of a service level. Like it's hard to, maybe not hard, but I feel it's more rare to actually feel like see someone's Instagram and then think I relate to this. Like this is speaking to me. Like a lot of people have really nice photos on Instagram, and I've kind of learned over the years to see through that a tiny bit. Like I'm not saying everyone with good photos on Instagram is phony. I'm just saying that it's kind of not enough to really feel like you want to sit down and learn more about this person. But when I started to read your stuff, I thought, for sure, this is someone who I love what they're doing and I want to know more about it. I constantly tell myself that I should start looking for all my guests, like kind of sourcing people only on Substack because you know more about them right away almost because you can read what they are writing. You can see maybe what they've like shared or restacked, and then like yeah, they're pushing this. They're probably into this. I think I agree with you totally. You learn a bit more expedited learning as well once you like read someone's long form writing instead of just see like an out of context photo that's like 2 inches wide.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously on Substack, it's curated as well. It's not that I think like very deep into culture like all day, but yeah, it's I mean, yeah, it connects. It lets you connect on it. Yeah,
See that's kind of what I thought at the beginning. That's why I asked, like, just how meticulous the writing is and the things that you, I mean, maybe not complain about, but the things you touch on in notes. I just thought maybe this was not in a bad way, but it would be taking up more of your time than it sounds like it is, which is amazing. I sometimes think I like read too much into certain things and get too emotional. I guess I'm not really losing sleep over anything I read on the internet, but I do maybe think about certain things more than the average person, and I kind of assumed that you would as well. I'm glad you don't, though. It's not a great trait to have, I don't think.
yeah, yeah. I don't think so as well. I think.
Let me backtrack a bit, or I get sidetracked to your consulting and stuff. Was there a time when you, like, if you don't mind me asking, maybe what was your first like paid work as a consultant? Like, when did you realize you could turn your interest and your passion in like culture and stuff, turn that into a job or a career?
It depends on what sort of consulting you mean. I mean. Probably I did it the very first time once I got like a proper job into like brand strategy, which was like 3.5 years ago. But then once I realized I can combine this with culture, it was probably like when I started the Substack, so like a half year ago. And actually was kind of nice because then I realized that I can like combine these two like passions or interests of mine. Yeah, and from then on, it led to quite some cool opportunities so far. So, and then it's like really nice that these two interests of mine, they intersect and like each benefits from the other. So that's really nice. So I think in general, just like half a year ago, I would say. I mean, but consultancy work I did like or like brand strategy work I'm doing like for 3.5 years now. And then for during my studies, I did also some work. Like I did some work for like uh, um, like the department store Illum in Copenhagen while I was doing like an internship as at like a PR agency. Then, like after my studies, I worked at this fashion distribution agency called the Zeck und Nolde in Bochum, which also has like a online department store, which sadly doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, but I think like in general, it started like real that I can really see the two sides intersecting. It started like a half a year ago, so actually quite recent, I have to say.
That it's cool that you were saying they kind of feed off each other because that would have been my next question. I like to ask people who have kind of found a way to fuse two things together in their life and career. I wonder, like, does your writing do you learn things about brand strategy through your writing and then the other way around, like do you learn something strategizing for a brand that you feel like you should maybe develop a bit more and then write about that exact thing?
Yeah, I mean I would say it's two sides of the same coin, I feel like, because the stuff that I'm writing about, it's brand strategy and culture related for sure. So I see them not solely different, but rather than like two sides of the same coin because I'm right about stuff or apply like models. For example, in my second last newsletter, I also had this 2 by 2 chart, which we also use. I mean, every strategist knows it, but these um, in which you usually, I mean, it's a type of model in which you usually like map out like competitors of a brand in, and then I applied this like to like mood board pages, and yeah, I think like this way, like it's very related for me, and I don't feel like I can separate it as much. Yeah.
Yeah, but that letter was about like curating, right?
Yeah, it was about curating like mood board pages.
Yeah, I remember. I love that one. Well, I can't remember if that was the one that I shared when we started talking. I just know I really liked one that I shared, and then I did like the one kind of critiquing like mood boards and what was it also about like resonance and like why basic this see this is sort of what I wanted to talk about more. I'm at a point right now where I'm sort of wondering like what not not as existential as like what is the point of everything, but I mean what is the point of all this oversaturating and just like content basically? Like what is gonna actually stick with people? What are people gonna remember in the future, and what is just really big today and then gone tomorrow? And it sounds that you think about this, and actually I've written about it a few times, so I was curious what you think about, like, is there any point in just like blasting everything on social media forever? Like, are people gonna remember any of it later?
Yeah, I feel like it's an ongoing process, so that's for sure. It's basically the main premise of my Substack as well, that I want to try to be like a sort of filter who sees like okay, what of this stuff has like the longevity to last like beyond the hype, beyond the like attention rush, and which of all this stuff is just like a manufactured media stunt and will like fade within like 2 months' time? I think you can't really give like a generalized answer to it. You always have to um you always have to see via by case, I feel like. I mean, there are certainly stuff that still excites me and that keeps me going, so that's for sure. But yeah, I feel like also that's a reason why I started the Substack, because I was a bit fatigued because because of like a lot of stuff which I felt like were just like, I don't know, just manufactured for like a quick buzz, and like brands were trying to like have uh like their foot into culture without really having like the credibility to be so. So yeah, that's the reason why I started the Substack, and I feel like it's an ongoing process to find that out, like what has the reason to stay and what which is just like an artificial hype. But in general, I think there are certainly stuff among all the stuff which is still worth like paying attention to. Like there's so much stuff that still excites me. Also within the fashion field, I feel like very excited because there's also like currently now like a whole new wave of like these very cool fashion brands who take like a much more mindful approach to their clothing, like brands like mfpen, for example, from Copenhagen, or Orally. Yeah, Blackbird's Byline is actually like the Substacks. They've written a really nice piece on it as well. And also when it comes to like other sorts of culture, like music, art, there's so much nice stuff out there, which pro sometimes struggles a bit to find like visibility among all these like cheap attention screaming stuff. But yeah, it's a matter of time um, until the good will sort out. At least I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too. I go through kind of like ups and downs, like everyone, I guess, where I'm like, for years, I've been a very hobbyist photographer, but some days and weeks, I get like really into, I should learn a lot more about the history of photography. Sometimes I don't really spend my time doing that, but recently I've been trying to source a lot of old interviews and videos that have been uploaded to YouTube and of all these photographers that they were active in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and they all sort of have like a reoccurring premise behind what they do, and it's kind of like their goal is to make photos that their grandkids can look at in decades, and then gonna have like a narrative about like what this guy liked and what he photographed, and you can like tell it all by his body of work, and he's thinking about how that work is gonna be received years down the road. And then I think about the songs on the radio, all the stuff like these like pop stars would never think about anything past next week. I don't think, like, they just want to make something for now that sells now, and then like figure out the rest later. And it really made me think about, like, why are more current artists, celebrities, musicians, like whatever they're doing, I feel they're not thinking about the longevity of it and what's gonna last. And even if it's kind of a flop by today's standards, what if it is really cool in 20 years? I like the idea of that, and I feel not enough people think about that type of thing, but I kind of think you think about that type of thing. So what's your take on all that?
Yeah, first of all, with photography, I feel like this like the time aspect is really important to it. I just listened to your one episode with like Peter Sutherland as well, And I think there you already talked about it, right? That like I don't know, a picture, it just gets like so much value like through time. I mean, I always realized with like pictures that I take myself. I mean, I also really love to take pictures, and I always feel like, especially pictures, they really develop so much more value through time because like I don't know, like time passes. I don't know, and then you also approach it like every picture with like a new angle, with like a new like a new like viewpoint. So like when it comes to pictures, I think this is a really important point. Yeah, and on all of cultures, I feel like yeah, like you said, I mean like these days there's a bunch of music which rather like I don't know like seems to go the safe route, which is basically a remix of a remix of a remix at somebody of something that already worked in the past. And yeah, I actually just read this like really nice book of the W.D. Marks. I don't know if you know him. It's called Blank Space, and there he also writes about like I don't know how how all like artistic output like these days it's seems to go like rather the safe route of like just remix after remix after remix. Yeah, but yeah, like I said, it's still very, I still think there's so much nice stuff among all the rather engineered stuff. Yes. So yeah, you always have to, I don't know, judge by case, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree with that. I wish. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I didn't even wish. I like thinking about things personally, like later down the road. I just like. I mean, at the beginning of our talk, you were talking about that old issue of what kaleidoscope that was still like very, very useful to you and valuable to others, like based on the price. So I think of that, and I'm so happy that something from even like however old that was is still relevant and people are still seeking it out. I really wonder if anything from right now, kind of in like pop culture or culture, is that gonna be like, are people gonna be looking for current stuff now in 10 or 20 years? I maybe, but doubtful.
Yeah, I mean I mean you can probably just judge once time passes. I feel like, but yeah, I actually like today on Substack I read this one article of this person or this one take of a person which was like this AI slop like style that we have like in our feeds these days will basically be like the defining aesthetic we will have in our heads once we think of the early or like mid 2020s, which was quite an interesting take I found because I don't know, I think she was like I don't know, like that we will have the same type of nostalgia when it comes to this type of slop as if we have as the type of nostalgia we have like regarding like Y2K culture. And I don't know, we will just tell once time passes. But I found this very interesting.
Yeah, you know what? I don't. I actually hate the idea of that, but I also
I hate it as well. Like, don't get me wrong.
I think that that could happen because I recently just to interject and relate to that a bit. My girlfriend and I bought each other cameras for Christmas. They're just these tiny point and shoot cameras from 2012, I think. And until we bought them, I would have never thought that there would be a time in our life where we were nostalgic for 2012, but like now here we are trying to get a certain camera and like win an eBay auction for something based on that year. So I hate the AI thing, but I wonder, yeah, if in 10, 20 years are people gonna look back on that and start like posting old photos and bringing up old hard drives of all that stuff. Like it could happen. I hope it doesn't, but it probably will. To be honest.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, but it's really for me, it's really interesting that all these stuff like from the early 2010s is like back as well, because it's the time I got into culture as well and fashion, and to me it's really funny to see this circle like for the very first time because everybody says like fashion like moves in circles, but it's the first time I experience as myself that stuff that I grew up like liking, like I don't know, like American Apparel hoodies, like this whole indie sleaze aesthetic. It's back now. Also music wise, which is like really up my valley, I have to say. But yeah, I think in the end everything just moves in circles.
Yeah, I think I mean I obviously have heard that too. And they kinda maybe chose not to like subscribe to the full idea of that, but the older I get, the more things I've seen cycle back every 10 years. Like I think I've seen pants change. I mean, I'm gonna wear the same pants I have figured out I liked. I'm kind of too old to go in and into the trends, but I've seen the pants trend change like a infinite amount of times in my life. It's crazy to watch music, photos too. Like until a couple years ago, people would have never wanted a photo of them from 2016 being seen by anyone, and now it's like everyone's reposting it, trying to like start up old phones to get the images of them and their friends off them. So it's I mean, it kind of it's dumb, but as we're talking about it, the more I say it, I do kind of I like when everyone gets into the same thing. I'm a fan of like monoculture and all that, so maybe I don't fully will hate AI forever. There's nothing will make me like AI slop, but 2016 fit photo, I can come around to.
Yeah, I've actually seen one of you today because I was reading this one interview with you actually. And you were dressed like in like some Yeezy V2s and stuff, and I got a bit.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yes, I know exactly what you mean. That's funny. That's I mean it's out there. It's easy to find, but I would say that's deep-ish research. I don't know if many guests would find that one. If I was richer, I would probably pay to have that scrubbed. I don't know if I love having a photo of wearing Yeezys online, but that was of the time. So, maybe I should actually repost that. It could be the coolest photo anyone has seen.
Yeah, I mean it's a flex these days. I mean it's I feel like in these days it's also a flex is you have been into this culture for quite a long time. So I think that's basically the main driver of all these like 2016 trend as well. But I don't know, like everybody has his like I don't know weird stuff that he wore like back in the days. I mean, I wore like cheap Monday skinnies like back in the days,
Oh yeah, me too.
like in my darkest the days, it was not even like the skinnies. I think like one time I had like the spray-ons, was like even the level like beyond the skinny, was like spray on, and then I wore like someone went authentics and like an only USA hoodie or like a half like flower print thingy. And I don't know. Yeah, but I think there's nothing on that online, fortunately. But I think that's the price you just gotta pay once you like, I don't know, start uploading stuff. I mean, and you get the rewards for it. So I don't know. Doesn't really matter.
Are you talking about only New York, the clothing?
Yeah.
That's really funny. That company is honestly the reason I like got into a lot of stuff, and it's so funny. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them at all. Like I never owned any, but I remember being in New York for the first time in I think 2010, and there was only stickers everywhere. Like on honestly every service of everywhere I went, they were everywhere. And then I assumed it was graffiti, and then when I looked it up and realized that it was clothing, like it was a brand, and they were advertising that way everywhere, like kind of like graffiti, but in a brand way. That like something about learning that triggered something in my head where that like I think that's when I started to make nowhere fast stickers.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if anyone. I was with my girlfriend on that trip, so she would be aware of that, but I don't think I've ever like had an opportunity to tell that story. It's very cool.
Yeah, but that's really cool. Yeah. And I kind of now, like seeing your clothes, I can see the parallel.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Now that I've said that, I'm sure everyone can also sort of see the like relationship or the inspiration from them. That the cool. I love that you said something that kind of gave me the chance to share that because I think that would have probably went to the grave otherwise. How are you finding out about all this stuff back then? Because I know now it's like when I ask people this, it's weird. I'm sure there's people listening who are like, "Oh, you see it on TikTok. Like, how do you learn about anything?" But I know back then there was, the starting of some social medias and there was forums and obvious ways. But how did you find out about Only?
Only I'm not too sure in particular, but yeah, in general, I got into like streetwear culture like throughout Future, and then to Supreme, and I think from then on it trickled down. Like I got through all these brands, maybe through online retailers as well, and then skate shops as well. Like in the next biggest city, like Cologne. Yeah, but in particular, I mean, and then like magazines as well. But yeah, I think in Europe, then like only, I don't know why I keep saying only USA, but maybe because I had like a sweater which said like USA. But I think in Europe they never got really big because they also got like a cease and desist because in Germany or Europe it's there's another like big fashion retailer which is also called like just only. So I don't know. It's actually quite niche. I feel like to know them, but I don't know in particular. I don't know, but remember getting like I don't know like two like one shirt of them and like one hoodie, and I was so happy. I don't know, but that was like really long ago at this point. I think like I was like 15, so at this point like also 15 years ago. So I can't really remember.
Yeah, that around when it would have been for me too, and it seems kind of like yesterday. But then when you think about it, it was quite a long time ago, and maybe there are some things that kind of stand the test of time more than I would give them credit for. Like I don't want to be rude. I like don't really pay attention to what Only is up to now, but I'm sure there's still existing, and that guy made that work for however long, so that's like pretty commendable. That's not necessarily like a flavor of the week type thing.
It feels like they're a bit beyond like their heydays, so that's for sure. But I don't know. It always like I feel like because you were just talking about monoculture, I feel like these days there's also this like hyper fragmentation of like everything. So I don't know. There still be like maybe they're still doing great and we just don't know because we're not as like into them anymore. I feel like at this point I feel like there are so many like cultures and brands that can exist like parallelly, without you, I don't know, like knowing them. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. No, for sure. I love see, I just like I'm sort of interested in this stuff and I have my like very Luddite way of explaining it all, but it's cool to hear it come from you because you actually have like a good vocabulary to explain why things are the way they are. But yeah, like absolutely, there is. It's cool that there's so much stuff. It's great to learn about a lot of stuff and with a fair amount of ease. But it isn't like it used to be where there wasn't as much to know about. So it used to feel like more monoculture when someone was into something. Like I feel back then, if I saw someone in my city wearing only or Supreme or whatever, I would kind of know, like, oh, this person, went out of their way and got this, and they're probably into cool stuff, and we probably get along on some level, but now like it's so easy to get anything and the info is out there. So when you see someone dressed a certain way or listening to a certain thing or even with a sticker on a water bottle, it doesn't mean as much now as it might have back then.
Yeah, so I think that's for sure as well. And I feel like also these days, I feel like two opposite theses can be true as well. I think this one strategy agency, they had like this theory of like this horseshoe maximalism as well, which kind of loosely relates to that as well. Because like I feel like these days, like which is something that I struggle with my Substack as well. Like you have this monoculture, which I agree as well. Like these days, I remember like if I were to see like somebody dressed in Supreme, like in Lüdenscheid back in the days, I would have freaked out and we would have so much in common. And these days, it doesn't really mean anything to like wear Supreme and stuff. But then it's also like this hyper niche thing going on at the same time. So I always feel like two theses can be true at the same time. And sometimes I always find it like hard when it comes to my Substack as well to like have like one thesis because I feel like there are also like different angles and like paradigms through which uh, you can, I don't know, like assess a topic. I don't know, it's very hard to like make like, I don't know, fixed thesis these days. I feel like all it's true at the same time. But I did definitely agree that, I don't know, like wearing streetwear culture, I mean, the codes are shifting maybe. Maybe like these days it's not so much like the Supreme Box logo anymore. It's just like a more, I don't know, like a subtle, if you know, you know code that shows that you're into culture. I mean, the codes are just maybe shifting, but yes.
For sure they would be, and like I think what you said before is a very good analysis of it too. Like it probably is happening. We just aren't immersed in it, so it doesn't seem like it's like as monoculture to us. But I'm sure there are people even listening who would disagree, and they like only in Supreme are the biggest driving factor in their like age or their friend group or whatever. But since we've kind of moved on, it might not seem exactly like that to us.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, everybody lives the different lives, so they have like, I don't know, the different viewpoints. So it's always, yeah, a lot of things come down to this, I feel like.
What I guess when you're not writing or strategizing all that stuff, what do you like to do to kind of take your mind off all that stuff? Like where else do you get inspired?
Yeah, I mean, like, I would say as cheesy as it sounds, I can get inspired by everything. I mean, if you talk about, I don't know, getting my mind off things, I like to run, like very mediocre. I have like very slow pace, but I'm doing this for quite a time now. I'm cycling everywhere, so these are two things that get me my peace of mind. And I think the other stuff, like Actually, I was just talking to a friend like yesterday, and he was like that all I'm consuming is somehow like culture related, which might be kind of like true because like culture is basically everything, right? So I think like the stuff that excites me the most are loosely related to stuff like this that I'm like writing on my newsletter, like music. I'm really into like finding new music, like doing photography as well. I'm also really into doing photography. Like these days, I'm spending more time like writing the newsletter, but I really like, I don't know, just doing pictures as well. And I don't know, like seeing a nice gallery, doing like city trips. So that's for sure. I mean, city trips are probably like the biggest inspiration factor that gets me new ideas for sure as well. Yeah, I'm doing like a trip to Antwerp, like 2 months for like the Antwerp Six exhibition then. So that's on my mind right now. Yeah, I think in general, like traveling is also like a major part, I feel like, because I don't know, it also gets you exposed to stuff that you wouldn't find like on Instagram. Probably there you have this kind of like this monoculture aspect to it as well, that I don't know, this old narrative of like, oh, everything it looks the same everywhere. But I think you can definitely, once you're like exposed and once you're in a new city, you find new stuff. uh yeah, and you like move through the world with like new eyes as well, so traveling is probably a big part of it as well. Yeah.
That a very good point that I wouldn't have ever really thought about like that. But yeah, when you look at this, like if you're traveling somewhere and you look up that city, you're probably gonna see a majority of whatever is kind of Instagrammable in that city. Like a lot of people kind of might or flock to that. They'll take photos of certain landmarks and stuff, and that's kind of what you see most of, and then kind of what you think the city looks like. But it is very like extremely beneficial to be there in real life and then see what else is happening. Maybe like I feel for the most part, all the stuff not being fully documented, that's probably the cool stuff. Like, that's probably what someone like you or I would want to see instead of like the main attraction that's been posted 100 times.
I sometimes try to do it in Berlin as well, because like Berlin is such a major destination for so many people as well, that every once in a while I like, I don't know, I tried telling myself, I don't know, like just trying to see the city in like a city trip eyes, if that makes any sense, you know? Like trying to be like, I don't know, imagine if I were on a vacation now, like what would I do? Because I feel like once you're like in a city for quite a long time, you get kind of lazy and stay in your own boroughs and stuff. I think, but it's also made you like a Berlin thing. But yeah, every once in a while, I think it's important to also do that in your like used environment as well. And yeah, but in new cities, it's very easier to do it. So that's for sure.
But it's funny you said, as cheesy as it sounds, you can kind of find inspiration everywhere. I tell people that all the time about me, and I also always preface it by saying, as cheesy as it sounds, I can be inspired by anything. I'm sort of the same way. I just like anything that isn't what I do for work or editing and podcasts, like anything different for me, that's good. That's inspiration. I can bring a camera and they're not gonna be good at all, but I can take photos wherever. So that's kinda how I justify doing anything different is just being able to like document stuff along the way. And I'm sure like when you go to Antwerp, photos is gonna be like a priority.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in general, like having a camera with you makes it easier for sure. Because you're also when you're doing like city trips, I feel like it makes you way more like motivated to go into like a, I don't know, this weird warehouse because I don't know, you feel like, ah, maybe I can get like a nice picture there. So I mean, having a camera with you, I mean, you have one on your phone anyway all the time, but it makes it makes it easier for me to be like, I don't know, explore stuff. So that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. That another great way to sum up a thought that I might have had. But yeah, photos have kind of, yeah, I've seen a lot of interesting stuff that I wouldn't have seen if I wasn't trying to make an image out of it. So it definitely beneficial, especially when traveling.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool.
So I feel I'm probably taking up as much of your evening as I said I would. Again, I like hopefully I don't know if other people do, but whenever I do these with someone on the other side of the world, it's my morning. I'm starting my day, and then I feel like I'm eating up your evening.
And no worries, man. It was was a pleasure for sure because it was a really nice way to ease into the weekend with you because like I don't know, it's 7:30. I started once I was off work, so it was really nice to I don't know, slowly ease into the weekend with you.
Nice. I'm glad to be on the other end of that. Before we hop off, please the mic is all yours if you want to let anyone listening know where they can find you or your writing or anything you want to promote. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is my Substack, of course. It's called Substanz, Substanz. So I think this is the most important stuff, and I think from there on you can find the other stuff, which is not as exciting. I think my Substack is my proudest one, but yeah, if I want to.
I like that you the way you say it. It's just pretty much like substance. But when I said it just, substance, I was explaining it to my girlfriend. I was like, oh, you should read it. It's substance. I'm
Yeah,
trying to like make it seem like as cool and nonchalant as possible, but I can't do it. But I think the way you say it really like pulls it off.
yeah, it's German, so it might be a bit unusual for you.
I was actually wondering, the like when we first started talking, one of your concerns was that your English might not hold up in an interview, but I think like I can't think of even one instance where that would have been an issue. And like, do you find it difficult to write in fully English?
No, I mean, obviously, sometimes you have to like search for words and stuff. But yeah, basically, but that's something that kept me away from writing as well because I was always like, because I don't know, in the perfect world, I would have loved to work like for a magazine and stuff, but most of the ones that really excite me are in English. And I always like, I don't know, it's very hard to like keep up with like a bunch of like native speakers who are like very well educated. But yeah, I sometimes struggle with that. That I don't know. I don't feel like I could. I mean, I can't. I mean, I can't process or I can't like phrase my stuff like 100% as if I would phrase it in German. So sometimes it's a bit frustrating because then I feel like, I mean, if I would, if I could write it in German, it would be even better. But I don't know. I don't know. You just have to try your best. It's the end of the day, I feel like.
No, I think don't want to put you on blast right at the end, but yeah, I was thinking about when you said you didn't know how you would be in an interview for with it being in English. I can't think of even one instance where I would have thought that the language was a barrier at all. And I always feel kind of bad like tokenizing people because their accent is different than mine. But I love when there are people when I have guests, we have completely different voices I think it makes for a way better listening experience for I'm sure anyone listening is unbelievably bored of what I have to say. So if someone else comes in, the unique take on stuff and a way different accent, I think that's very cool and very unique.
Yeah, I think the cheesiest thing people can do is like fake an accent, like fake a British accent or fake an American accent. And I rather sound like a silly German than like faking another accent. And also, I was just telling you this with the English that I mean, I'm very comfortable to speaking English, so that's for sure. I mean, I speak English in my work life as well. It's like an international agency. It's just like for me because like also when it comes to the Substack and stuff, like I have like quite high standards. Like, and I like it sounds a bit douchey maybe, but I can prop. I when it comes to like writing a Substack, I can have like so much more control, uh, about like the phrasing and stuff. And now I'm like into this moment. I have to figure stuff out on the spot, which sometimes it's for me it's quite hard because if you're just thinking in German the whole day and then you have to switch to English, so sometimes you struggle that a bit and frustrates you. But yeah, I'm really comfortable speaking English, so that's no worry.
You're probably learning a lot like in a kind of expedited way too, being forced to like go back and forth.
Yeah,
Could be maybe annoying, but also I think very, very beneficial and very rewarding at the end of the day.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I just have to deal with it. I feel like, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I guess there's no option really. There's no way around it if you wanna write in a language that isn't what like where I guess I should ask you were like you were born and your first language is German.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Do you speak any others?
Um, I actually learned quite a few languages in school. I mean, I learned Italian and I learned Spanish and I learned like Latin, but actually I didn't like speak all of it. I mean, Latin, of course, not anyway. But yeah, so far I didn't got to speak it as much as I would like to. So so it doesn't really, I don't have anything of that left in me, unfortunately. So it's just English and German from now on. But probably I could like refresh my Spanish because I had it like for 4 years in school and 3 years Italian. But yeah, at this point in time, I just had my 10 years graduation party um, of my high school degree. So yeah, I would definitely need to refresh this.
That's incredible. I learned a bit of French years ago in school that I don't remember at all really, and that's it. So you having like 4 or 5, very, very cool compared to my 1 and 0.1.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but as long as you speak one, it's fine. I feel like
Yeah, yeah, I've made it work, but it's way less of an accomplishment, and way less education towards the one. But thank you so much for all this. Of course, that was incredible. I'm sure I'll think of things I forgot to ask, but that's how it always goes. Enjoy the rest of your evening and then the rest of the weekend. Please keep in touch. And yeah, thank you.
thank you very much. It was a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Awesome. See ya.
Yeah.